This video is going to look at several different uses of the ablative case as they are outlined in Chapter 31 of Ecce Romani on pages 34 and 35. Most of these are review, a couple of them are new, so this should be pretty familiar based on what we've seen in the last couple of years of Latin. The first one is the ablative of time when. All of these different uses of the ablative are going to basically answer various types of questions. The ablative of time when obviously is going to answer the question, when is something happening? We have the sentence, illo ipso tempora parietes insulae ceciderunt. Illo ipso tempora, those are all in the ablative case, and it means at that very moment, because this is at that very moment the walls of the apartment fell. When did they fall? At that very moment. Pretty simple, ablative of time when. A couple other ablative of time when phrases that we've seen very commonly. Eo tempora means at that moment, and then aestate, which you'll recall all the way back in chapter 1 of Ecce Romani, means in the summer. So it again tells us when something is happening. Another ablative construction is the ablative of time within which answers the question how soon. How soon is something going to happen? Brevi tempora is a very common usage that we've seen a lot throughout both years of Latin. So brevi tempora mater a servis per urbem feribatur means in a short time, mother was being carried through the city by the slaves. So again, how soon is this going to happen? You can see there's not a huge difference between ablative of time when and ablative of time within which. There's a very fine distinction between the two, but there is enough of a distinction that we do have these two separates. One answers when is something going to happen, the other is more of a continued time, how soon will something happen? Another use of the ablative of instrument or the ablative of means. And this is going to answer the question, with what is something done? So the sentence Cornelia Flaviam complexu tenet means Cornelia holds Flavia in an embrace. We can also have Dominus servum baculo verberat. The master hits the slave with a stick. That second one, baculo, with a stick, is maybe a bit more of a vivid example because that's literally the instrument with which the master hits the slave. So it answers that question very clearly and very precisely. And again, this we call the ablative of instrument or means. Contrasted with that is the ablative of manner. This is going to answer the question how. How is something done? Parietes magno cum fragora ceciderunt means the walls fell with a great crash. That is the manner in which they fell, or how they fell. As you can see here, that preposition cum is optional. We could leave that out, and this would still be an ablative of manner. However, if you want to leave it in there, that's fine too. Either way works. Next, ablative of cause. This answers the question why. It gives the cause for something. So the sentence tua culpa raida est in fossa means because of your fault, the carriage is in the ditch. We could also translate that something like it's your fault the carriage is in the ditch. Again, understanding that tua culpa, those are ablatives. Next up, the ablative of price is going to answer the question, how much is something? Tibi decem denariis eum vendam means I will sell it to you for 10 denarii. Decem, recognize that is an indeclinable form. So decem is every case, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and in this sentence, ablative, as is denariis. So we're going to translate those as for 10 denarii. This is what we've seen the last couple chapters, the ablative of agent used with passive verbs. Remember, passive verbs where the subject does nothing but is acted upon by the agent, well, that agent is in the ablative case. So we have the sentence mater a servis per urbem feribatur. Mother was being carried through the city by the slaves. That by the slaves, we would call that the agent that's performing the action, and we put it in the ablative case. Sometimes with passive verbs, we don't have a person that does something, but a thing that does something. And so it's still going to be in the ablative. Technically, we're going to call that another ablative of instrument or means. And then again, here we're just using it with passive verbs. So nihil intra urbem vehiculo portatur means nothing is carried within the city by or with or in a vehicle. Any one of those translations is fine. So again, another ablative with passive verbs. Again, but this time it's not an agent, it's a thing that is doing that action. So that's our various uses of the ablative. Obviously quite a few. That's why we sometimes call the ablative the junk case. Whereas some of the other cases have very limited uses, the ablative has a wide range of uses. These are some very common ones. There are more beyond these. It's a good idea to keep these straight by remembering those different questions. When does something happen? How soon? With what? How? Why? How much? Etc., etc. Keeping that in mind, hopefully it'll be easy for you to identify something that's in the ablative and then translate it correctly. For some practice with this, I would recommend that you look at exercise 31D on page 35. It's going to give you pairs of sentences where you're going to be putting the different uses of the ablative to the test in your translation skills.